Hello everyone, I am Alka1993 and welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. I was requested a little while ago to make a deck profile for my Gravekeeper deck, so here I am to comply with that. Let's go to View Deck. Gravekeepers is an archetype, a series of cards that I've liked for a long time. I like their playstyle back in the day. I remember like 2008-9. Gravekeepers was my main deck. Used to like playing it, although that was mostly with the old cards. A lot of the new support wasn't out yet at the time. I remember using a combo of a Magician's Circle and Gravekeeper's Visionary. That was really fun, but a lot of those I don't really play. We have 3 Gravekeepers. Recruiter helps as a searcher. Can get to like 1700 to 2000 stats with Necrovalley. That's a nice searcher to have. Gravekeeper's Headman, I'd say one of the key cards, although it helps bring out the key cards in a sense. Unfortunately, it only summons level 4 or lower Gravekeeper's monster upon special summon, which is unfortunate, but hey, I work with what I can work with. Hey, you two should care. Oh, you're making YouTube videos. Oh, we could kiss.
We could.
Anyway, Gravekeeper's Headman, I'm mainly using combination with Gravekeeper's Spiritualist. We'll get to that in a second. Gravekeeper's Commandant can get to 2100 attack with Necrovalley, although I mostly use it as a Necrovalley searcher. Gravekeeper's Heretic, don't really use it too much. It's unaffected by all card effects as long as Necrovalley is on the field. That includes the boost from Necrovalley, which is unfortunate. Gravekeeper Spiritualist is my fusion card. I have fusions in my deck, but don't actually use polymerization. Sure, I have one copy of Magicalized Fusion, but that doesn't actually work under Necrovalley. But Spiritualist is my main fusion card. And then I have one Malefic Cyber End Dragon, because this deck is meant to bring out a field spell, and the Malefic cards need a field spell on the field. Being able to get instantly a level 4000 attack monster on the field is really nice. They have Raigeki and Harpie's Feather Duster for destruction. I could actually add Lightning Storm, but now that I think about it, I'll almost always have a Necrovalley on the field, most of the time anyway, and otherwise some traps. So Lightning Storm, unless I go second, and I happen to have it in my opening hand, it won't really be that useful. Terraforming to help search for Necrovalley. Royal Tribute works well, especially when you open it with Necrovalley. I'll get to that combo in a second as well. Allure of Darkness for a bit of draw power. All my monsters are dark attribute except for Commandant. We can help with a bit of draw power, same for Pot of Desires. Magicalized Fusion. Usually, if Necrovalley isn't on the field or it's being negated, I can bring out Supernaturalist. Although it is possible, even though it's quite rare, that I bring out Quintet Magician. I occasionally will bring that out with it too. Necrovalley Throne has 2 different effects. Generally, I add a Gravekeeper's monster with it, although occasionally the normal summon will be used as well. Hidden Temples in Necrovalley originally wasn't in the deck. I had Double or Nothing with Utopia Double at first, but I didn't get to use it much, so I added Hidden Temples for lockdown. Scapegoat, which might seem a bit of a random card, but it's actually, I feel like it works pretty well. Not necessarily in combo with the Gravekeeper's cards, it's a general card that works well for me, especially in combination with Power Code Talker. Then both Storming and Driving Mirror Force, I feel like that's the most useful Mirror Force I can use. Lost Wind, a really nice effect negation card. Works only on special summon monsters, not normal summons, so occasionally it's a bit like, would have liked a Phoenix Chain or something like that, or the Infinite Impermanence, but generally Lost Wind works out really well. Also really nice to lower the opponent's attack in the damage step, so I can take out their monsters. I have 1 Imperial Tombs, considering moving it up to 2, but it needs both the Gravekeepers and Necrovalley on the field, and sometimes I just don't get to that. And then Necrovalley Temple, in case the one Necrovalley I might have on the field gets destroyed. And otherwise, if it gets destroyed itself as something like Harpie's Feather Duster, I can get another Necrovalley card, which includes Necrovalley Throne. And Tombs and Temples. A few of the combos that I usually get, the 2 main combos really. Necrovalley is the main card. Besides just giving a 500 attack and defense boost to all the Gravekeepers, the rest of the effect is really nice because a lot of different meta decks that move stuff in and out of the graveyard. So Necrovalley's in there 3 times. Then there's Gravekeeper's Commandant that's in there 3 times that you can discard to get Necrovalley. Then there's Necrovalley Throne, which can search for Commandant, which can in turn search for Necrovalley. And then there's a copy of Terraforming. 10 out of the 40 cards either are or could turn into Necrovalley. And if you open one of those 10 cards, plus one of the 3 Royal Tributes, Royal Tribute doesn't have a search card, but if you open that, play Necrovalley, play potentially one of your monsters first, because a Royal Tribute does get rid of your opponent, your monsters too. But that way you potentially discard a lot of your opponent's hand. It's in the graveyard, they can't normal summon them, they can't special summon them back from the graveyard. It's really useful. So that's that is the main reason why I go first with this deck, is for the potential of Necrovalley plus Royal Tribute being so deadly. And even then, Necrovalley itself can stop a lot of decks. Gravekeeper Supernaturalist is definitely the ace of the deck. Requires any of 2 Gravekeeper's monsters. At you. I use Spiritualist to bring out it almost all the time. With Necrovalley on the field, that puts it at 32 or 3300 points. And while Necrovalley is on the field, Necrovalley and Discard can't be destroyed by card effects. So it's pretty hard to take out. And if you activate its effect during the main phase, and during the end phase, you can add a Gravekeeper or Necrovalley card from deck to hand. Now, depending on what the opponent's using, I might add Imperial Tombs for negation. I might add a Necrovalley Throne for searching. But most of the time, I'd actually take Gravekeeper's Headman. Because when I fuse with Spiritualist, Spiritualist ends up in the graveyard. If I then search for Headman in the end phase, next turn I normal summon Headman, bring the Spiritualist back from the graveyard, so I can use Spiritualist plus the Headman that I used to summon it, to summon a second Supernaturalist. Or if the first one got destroyed or tributed for a Kaiju, I can still bring it out. I have Cyber End Dragon, which I just need for Malefic Cyber End Dragon. The reason I have a second one is because occasionally Malefic Cyber End Dragon will be sent back to my hand or deck, like with something like Storming or Drowning Mirror Force, Compulsory Evacuation Device, Penguin Soldier, I don't know. And that way I can summon it back to the field. It's kind of situational, but I don't really use my extra deck too much, so I have the space for it. I'm pretty sure I put this in space of the original Utopia double I had. Then Quintet Magician for the rare chance that Necrovalley isn't on the field and there's 5 or more Gravekeepers in the grave, and I use Magicalized Fusion. I have Giga Brilliance in there because I wanted to have a rank 3 XCs for the potential of Headman and Recruiter together. Even though Headman can't summon Recruiter, sometimes I'll end up with those 2 on the field, or maybe 2 Recruiters or something like that. I wanted to have an XCs at least to use. There's probably better rank 3 XCs, but the ones I just don't have yet at the moment. Then a few rank 4 XCs because of Spiritualist, Commandant, Heretic, they're ranked 4. Utopia to negate stuff, Silent Honor to get rid of one of your opponent's cards mainly, and Malevolent Sin, especially if the opponent is at kind of low life points, you can get rid of an opponent's card and then attack. Although the fact that it banishes, doesn't destroy, might be able to get around certain effects as well. Link Haribo actually is there due to the Nightmare cards, which are the main Link 2s that I have. But they require 2 monsters with different names, and I would almost always bring them out. Although sometimes I guess I can use Gravekeepers, but often I want to bring them out with the sheep tokens for Scapegoat. But they're all the same name, they're all called sheep token. So I'd link one of them into Linkaribo, and then Linkaribo plus a second sheep token into one of these 2, whichever one applies more. And then Unicorn, I guess those 2, like a sheep token plus Linkaribo plus a Gravekeepers or something. Power Code is my main link. So you'll always in this deck, if I use Scapegoat, you'll always see me put a sheep token in the first monster zone and in the third one. So that's the leftmost one and the middle one. Because Power Code Togger points diagonally down left. Like bottom left with one of its link arrows. So I want to make sure that the 2 monster zones in those that Power Code could point to are filled. And then whichever one and if I link into Power Code Talker, I always make sure one of those specific 2 sheep tokens don't get used. Often I keep the leftmost one, so that I use the 3 next to it for Power Code. Because Power Code can negate an effect, which is sometimes useful. But once per turn, if it battles an opponent's monster, you contribute a monster this card points to, which will mostly be the sheep token. This card stack becomes double its original attack during that damage calculation only. So you can get to 4,600 attack, which overcomes most monsters. And in some cases, that is a really useful effect. that is my Gravekeeper's deck. I was requested to make this deck profile, so I thought, you know what, I will show it off. So this is what my Gravekeeper's deck is like. If you want to give it a try, here's the deck list. I'll actually go into the deck editor just so you can see what rarity they have. This is the first deck actually built on Master Duel. I just opened a good amount of Master Packs, I believe. Found a decent amount of Gravekeeper's cards in them, or at least 2 or 3, and decided, okay, I know that deck that archetype pretty well, and I'd like to make something with it. I didn't know too much of the new support, like Supernaturalist, like Spiritualist, like Headman, but I got a hang of them pretty quickly. It's not too difficult of a deck to learn, no like huge combos like there are in a lot of current decks. I like how this deck works. And its win condition is, a lot of it is a Necrovalley. Necrovalley is just very useful. So I think if you play against this deck, you want to stop Necrovalley, but be aware there's a lot more ways to get more Necrovalleys.